before you tonight the agenda. Are there any proposed revisions to the agenda? Any proposed revisions? Any proposed revisions? It's tougher to see all of them because we don't usually have the angles that we usually have. Are there any proposed revisions? All right, seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda as written would be in order.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Alderman Corey to approve the agenda as written. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion passes. There are no minutes to approve this evening, so that will move us into comments by the mayor and board. I have no comments. Are there any comments by the members of the board? Any comments by the members of the board? All right. Seeing none, we'll move to citizen comments. Any citizen wishing to make a comment at tonight's proceeding may come forward and introduce yourself, and you'll be recognized for a maximum of 3 minutes. Are there any citizen comments? Any citizen comments? All right, seeing none, we have no public appearances, no mayor's business for this evening, so that moves us to board business. And before starting with board business, as you all know, we have the finalists that are going to be appearing for a second interview in the school board appointment process this evening. And one of the finalists had a previous engagement where she was going to be out of the state, so she's going to be joining us by phone conference. And, the deputy clerk is getting her on the phone as we speak. Also, a development, one of the finalists, James Covey Harris, notified us this afternoon that he no longer wished to be a candidate. So the field as it stands is Ann Carr, Walter Connolly, Eric Heisel, and Susan Thomas. We'll just give a moment to get this far.
Mr. Mayor, before we proceed, may I be recognized?
You may.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. To the Honorable Mayor and the members of this Board of Aldermen, I have been, before we get, and Mr. Mayor, I'd like to be heard before we get anybody on the phone, before we start this interview process this evening. I have been provided with, at my table, my first time seeing it here in writing, a copy of an opinion from the office of the Attorney General of the state of Mississippi. And this opinion is dated February 3, 1981, and I'm going to be calling on the attorney once I yield the floor for his legal opinion on this matter. And in reading this opinion in a very quick manner, it is my understanding of this opinion that if there is a school district that has already in place 2 members who reside outside the city limits, then the board is prohibited by law from appointing an additional member to thereby at said time to have 3 members who are in the added territory. I have long shared that opinion, which is opinion that cites section 37-7-203 of the Mississippi Code of 1972 as amended. And when you read these statutes and opinions, you have to read them together. It is my opinion, of course the city attorney is going to advise the board, but as to Alderman Perkins' opinion, that statute provides and says that in any territory where there is at least 30% of the pupils or more that is in the added territory, then the board shall not have more than 2 members who live outside the city limits. I further understand that the Starkville School District has a student population of 18% that resides outside the corporate limits of the city of Starkville, but within the Starkville School District. The city clerk at some recent a few weeks ago, did some research in the minutes, and I know that this board, not this board, but a board, between '01 and '05, I believe, or somewhere thereabout, and I won't try to get the exact year, there was some discussion about the number of members that can serve on the board who live outside the corporate limits, but within the Starkville School District. In the minutes, in my opinion, of course, some may differ, kind of express a legislative intent that we can have only 2 members on this school board who resides outside the city limits, being the added territory. I understand that this opinion that has been placed at our table tonight is a late development. This board has always, based on my involvement and knowledge, since 1993, have relied upon Attorney General's opinion. I will yield the floor in a few minutes, but I did have a conversation with the city attorney. I'm not speaking for him, but this opinion is on point in my opinion. I do acknowledge and understand that there have been other opinions that have been provided to this board by the attorney that is conflicting with this, but this opinion is on point. So basically what I am of the opinion, and want to conclude by saying this, is that this opinion, as I read it, says that this Board of Aldermen, as we sit here tonight, cannot appoint anyone that would violate this state statute. And this opinion says that this statute provides that we can only have 2 members on this 5-member board who reside outside the city limits within the school district. And we currently have 2 on the board as we now speak. The current makeup of the board as we now speak are 3 members within the city limits and 2 outside the city limits. So I think that this opinion is controlling. And Mr. Mayor, before we get started, I would like to hear from our attorney. It's my understanding that he has provided this opinion to us tonight. And this is a very important issue, very important matter to the board, very important matter to the school system, very important matter to the public. And we need to make sure that we follow the law. We don't have any room for error. We need to be very cautious. We need to be very prudent. And we need to make sure that we take the correct legal course of action so we can follow the law of the state of Mississippi. So Mr. Mayor, I would like to yield at this point. I would like to hear from the attorney. I think that the board needs to hear from their lawyer, and so we can know what he has to say and what advice he wants to give us in later this late breaking news that has been provided to us. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, and I guess there are a few things I'd like to say to shed light on the subject before I turn it over to the city attorney to provide analysis that Alderman Perkins has been referred to. Before I do that, Ms. Carr, are you on the phone?
I am.
Okay, wanted to make sure we had everybody with us. Weeks ago, at the outset of the application process for the school board position, it was unclear in our office whether this was an application process that was open to only residents of the corporate limits of Starkville, since it's the city board of aldermen that's making the appointment, or whether it was an appointment that was open for anybody residing in the Starkville school district, including the area that's in the school district outside of the corporate limits. After initially researching the matter, the city attorney came to the conclusion that it was permissible for anyone residing within the Starkville school district, whether they be in the Starkville corporate limits or in the county, to apply for the position. At that point in time, you may remember an article in the newspaper that was there to clear up any ambiguity. I actually contacted the newspaper. I said there's been enough confusion. We need to make sure that the public understands this. That is the assumption that we have been operating under until this afternoon. This afternoon, I got a call from the city attorney, and in researching other matters in preparation for tonight's discussion, he found an opinion that may cast some doubt over whether that is in fact the case. At this point, I think it's best for him to walk everybody through what he has discovered and make any recommendations he may have about how to proceed.
Thank you, Mayor. And the mayor is correct that about a week and a half ago, he asked me to research the issue. Just what he said, how many board members could sit on the Starkville School Board who were residents of this additional or added territory. And that territory is defined as the territory beyond the Starkville city limits, but still within the Starkville School District. And I spent extensive time researching this, and I know Chief Administrative Officer Lynn Spruill researched it as well. And there were two Attorney General opinions that popped up as a result of that search. One was from Indianola. It's a 1991 opinion written by Mr. David Jackson into the AG to get the AG's opinion back. And that opinion said that as long as the person lived in the added territory, as long as they were within the school limits, they could sit on the board. We also saw another Attorney General opinion that said really the same thing, and it was an April 9th of 2004 Attorney General opinion dealing with the city of Macomb. And it once again said that the school board, through the actions of the governing authorities of the city, these authorities can appoint a member to the school board as long as they live within the district. Doesn't matter whether they're in the added territory or whether they're a member or resident of the city limits. So we thought that issue had been put to bed. It's important to look at the direct wording of the statute because in any legal analysis, the first place you go is the express wording of the law. And Alderman Perkins referenced it, and I want to make sure we're all clear on what the statute says, because ultimately, these Attorney General opinions are only advisory opinions. The law is statutes written by our legislature and the Mississippi Supreme Court opinions relating to those statutes and the Mississippi Court of Appeals opinions relating to those statutes. The statute says that if 15% or more of the pupils that come to the school district come from this added territory, then at least one member of the Board of Trustees on the school district will come from the added territory. The wording there is at least one when you're talking about 15% or more. Then it says 30%. If 30% or more of the students come from this added territory, the language of the statute is no more than 2 members shall sit on the board from the added territory. So the statute imposes a cap of no more than 2 members from this added territory if it's 30% and greater. But by the express wording of the statute, there's no cap in between 15% and 30% because the language is at least 1, but it doesn't cap it at anywhere. So we looked at the express wording of the statute and said, well, this lines up with those 2 AG opinions, and so we were pretty confident that that was the law. This morning, the mayor asked me to research another issue, and the other issue he asked me to research was whether this decision has to be made tonight, because the statute says that the board will elect this nominee in their February meeting, and this is the recess meeting from the first February meeting, so we're still in compliance tonight, and that this new appointee will sit starting March 1. And was there any law out there that could postpone that timeline, just so we would know what the consequences are if there was a deadlock vote or a majority couldn't be reached tonight as the vote went on? And so I ran a search under the terms first meeting in February, and in doing so, another Attorney General opinion popped up that I had not seen before, and that our CAO, Ms. Spruill, had not seen before. And I've checked with our past city attorneys, and they're unaware of this opinion as well. It's a 1981 opinion, and Mr. Perkins has referenced it here today. And what this 1981 Attorney General opinion says is that the cap of 2 people applies no matter what the percentage is. So it sheds light on the fact that no cap is stated in the express wording of the statute. It says that the cap applies from 15% on, or from any percentage, that there can only be 2. So what we have here is we have 3 Attorney General opinions, one saying one thing and 2 saying the other. And the legality of this gets more confusing in that the Attorney General opinion from 1981 is tighter factually. It fits these facts more than the other 2 do. And there's a general tenet of the law that the more specific the law is, it's going to control over the more general law. Now there's also a competing consideration, and the competing consideration is that the most recent law will control over the older law because it's the freshest law on the book. So we've got all of these things knocking heads. And so in light of this, I called the Attorney General's office today, and I talked to a man named Reese Partridge. And Mr. Partridge works in their opinions office, and he writes opinions relating to school boards and relating to elections. And I had him look at all three of these opinions to give us some guidance on which opinion controls. And he did. And he told me that it was his informal opinion, and he told me to tell this in open session tonight. It was his informal opinion that this 1981 AG opinion would control, that the cap would be 2 members, no matter what the percentage, coming from this added territory. He did stress, though, that this was his informal opinion on a quick reading of these AG opinions this afternoon, and he encouraged us to seek a formal Attorney General opinion on the issue. I told him there was problems with that, and the problem was that we need to make the decision tonight pursuant to statute. The statute says the decision gets made in February. He advised that that's more of a directive than a mandate. I talked to the school board attorney, Dalton McAlpin, about how this might affect Mr. Taylor, who's serving out his term and is rolling off, and is the reason why we're appointing a new member. And he said that he's advised Mr. Taylor that even before all this came up, if this board couldn't make a decision tonight, that he was going to advise Dr. Taylor to hold over until the board could make a decision. And he said that if we seek an Attorney General opinion, it'll be his advice to Dr. Taylor to just hold over until that Attorney General opinion comes in. We can ask for an expedited Attorney General opinion and ask that it come in by March 2nd, the first meeting of the board next month. It's my recommendation to do that. I want to be right more than I want to be timely. And let me say one more thing. I apologize for coming across this law late in the game. I researched this a week and a half ago, and I didn't find this AG opinion. It didn't pop up. Sometimes you're looking for something so hard you don't find it. When you're looking for something else, you just stumble across it. And that's what happened in this situation. So to the extent this is an 11th hour discovery, I apologize for that. But it's my job to present the board with any law that they need to consider to make an opinion, and so that's why I put this AG opinion before them today. So in sum, my recommendation is to seek an Attorney General opinion, a formal opinion, about which one of these AG opinions control this issue.
And before the discussion goes any further, let me apologize as well. It is ultimately the responsibility of my office to ensure that something like this, I have no doubt, the applicants that are here this evening, the applicants that's on the phone, the applicants that were in the full pool on Tuesday night, has been a very stressful process, and the last thing I want to do is add any stress by our office not properly processing all of the circumstances that surround the rules for apply. And in this instance, I accept the ultimate responsibility that a mistake was made. I do ask everybody to understand that it was absolutely a mistake made in good faith. From the beginning, we were trying to do nothing but try to determine what the law allowed, who the law allowed to apply for the open school board position. With that, I'll turn it over for board discussion. And there's, I guess, a myriad of things to discuss. First of all, the matter that is on our agenda is the interview of the finalists for the position. Obviously, this could potentially change the calculus of everything coming in to the situation tonight. So the first thing to reach some sort of conclusion on is whether it is proper or appropriate in the best interest of the process to go ahead and conduct those interviews tonight, and also in light of the advice of the city attorney to determine what the best course is for moving forward.
So what is your opinion to postpone this until the official Attorney General opinion is received?
It is, Alderman Dumas. I think we have to know that the Attorney General has 3 opinions on file, and one says one thing and 2 say another. And there's no case law on the subject. There's no case that says what controls this issue. And so we have no solid law to go on. And in light of that, I think it's prudent to postpone this determination and until we get that formal opinion.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Perkins.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to offer a motion. And Mr. Mayor, I move that the matter of the appointment of an individual to the Starkville School Board to be postponed, and that the interviews likewise to be postponed, that the city attorney be and is hereby directed to submit the proper request along with any pertinent documentation to the Attorney General's office in the state of Mississippi requesting an expedited opinion on this matter, and that in his request he shall allude to and include all the necessary pertinent information, and upon receipt of the official Attorney General's opinion, that a copy of it be provided to the mayor and each member of the board. And after receipt of that Attorney General's opinion, that this matter of the interviews of the remaining applicants be scheduled at a public hearing along with the matter of discussion of appointment for the board's consideration.
All right. Motion has been made by Alderman Perkins to postpone items A and B on page 2, items 10A and B on page 2 of the agenda, to authorize the city attorney to seek an expedited attorney general's opinion on the matter that has been previously discussed by the city attorney, and request return receipt of the opinion to the mayor and board, and that interviews and the appointment of a member to the Starkville School Board to follow shall be made upon receipt, or shall be rescheduled to a date after the receipt of that opinion. Is that the motion?
Is that it, Mr. Mayor? Thank you.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Corey. Alderman Perkins, you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Discussion by the members of the board.
Mr. Mayor might be recognized.
Alderman Carter.
Will this suffice all of the documentation saying this has got to be done, this appointment has to be done within the month of February? I mean, we still meet all those deadlines?
And I think it's probably best for you to answer that.
Alderman Carver, I want to make sure I understand your question. You're saying, will this expedited opinion get back quick enough for us to rule on this in February?
Or will that matter?
Well, the statute calls for it to get done in February, but as Reese Partridge advised from the Attorney General's office, it's more of a directive than a mandate.
Okay.
And given the snarl in the law that we're faced with and that we're seeking an AG opinion, I think we'll have cover to wait till that opinion comes back. And we'll ask for an expedited turnaround, and we'll do it as soon as it comes back.
Do we know if Dr. Connolly is willing to serve? I'm sorry, Dr. Taylor is willing to serve?
I don't know that. I know in talking to the school board attorney, Dalton McAlpin, he said that he has advised Dr. Taylor to be ready to hold over, and that would continue to be his advice.
Further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion by the members of the board? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. And to the applicants, once again, I offer my sincere apology for the way this is proceeded. All right, next matter on the agenda is the consideration of making appointments to the Comprehensive Planning Committee for the City of Starkville. Alderman Dennis?
I would like to also take a similar path as the last, well, that's probably hard to say. In light of this being a late developing committee, and the information on this committee only being shared on Monday, I would like to let the discussion on this agenda item die until the next agenda meeting, next meeting, so that we can have time to review the list of applicants. I can answer any questions, or we can review that pool and then make the final decisions at that time.
Okay. It's not a motion. Are there any more comments for Alderman Dumas, discussion on that? What it sounds like Alderman Dumas is recommended that no action be taken on it at this time, but he would welcome feedback. Any discussion from the board?
I would agree.
Okay. All right, seeing no discussion, the next matter on the agenda is consideration of making an appointment to the Octavia County Heritage Museum.
So moved.
Motion has been made.
I probably need to clarify that.
Motion has been made to appoint Dennis Bach to the Heritage Museum board. Is that your motion, Alderman Dumas? Do I hear a second?
I will second.
Motion been seconded by Alderman Corey. Alderman Dumas, you wish to speak on merits?
Do not.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Alderman Carter?
Mr. Mayor, is that the only applicant we had?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passed. Next matter on the agenda is the consideration of purchasing an ad to support the Starkville Junior Miss Pack. Discussion. Alderman Corey.
I believe it's tradition of this board to support the junior miss pageant, typically with the middle of the 3 ad slots that they have. I believe that was the $50 ad, if I'm not mistaken. So unless anyone has any objection, it would be my honor to move that the Board of Aldermen approve the expenditure of $50 for the purposes of placing an ad in the book for the junior miss pageant for the purposes of advertising the resources of the city of Starkville.
Alderman Corey has made a motion to approve the sponsorship of a $50 ad in the program book for the Junior Miss Pageant to advertise the opportunities, possibilities, and resources of the city of Starkville in accordance with Mississippi Statute 1731. Is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Corey, you speak on that. Any discussion? Alderman Parker.
I just want to make sure we're sponsoring an ad for the entire, we're not sponsoring specifically one person, right?
That's right.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
Discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Next matter on the agenda is the consideration of the approval for Dylan Carges to apply to the Mississippi Arts Commission for the Public Arts Initiative Grant on behalf of the city of Starkville. Alderman Dumas?
This is, Dylan is writing this grant on behalf of the beautification committee, and this is in-kind match, our matching funds that we, the board, have already approved for the beautification committee, and this is just simply asking the board to approve Dylan and the beautification committee to write this and use those funds. Just a courtesy matter of money that's already being allocated to the beautification committee. So I move approval of the application for the grant from the Mississippi Arts Commission for the Public Arts Initiative and the matching funds to come from the Beautification Committee dedicated funds not to exceed $15,000.
Alderman Dumas has made a motion to approve the application for the grant from the Mississippi Arts Commission for the Public Arts Initiative and the matching funds to come from the Beautification Committee dedicated funds not to exceed $15,000. Alderman Dumas, that's your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion been seconded by Alderman Parker. Alderman Dumas, you wish to speak on the matter?
Do not.
Any discussion? Alderman Corey.
Quick question, so just as a bit of housekeeping, I want to make sure that there's been no expenditure from this line item yet.
There has not.
Further discussion. Alderman Sistro.
And the other bit of housekeeping, there's been no other interest in this line to date?
This is all in line with some things that are coming together. This all fits part of the broader perspective of what's happening.
Okay.
Further discussion. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. And that exhausts the agenda with the exception of matters scheduled for executive session. Do I hear a motion to move into a closed session to determine whether there's a need for executive session?
So moved.
A motion has been made by Alderman Corey. And do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, by Alderman Perkins. Alderman Corey, you speak on the merits.
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure passes. We will give everybody a moment to clear the room so we can move into closed.
The passage of time. We have shared your joy at the birth of your children, and proudly we have watched them grow. We've taken care of your health care needs during the good times and the not so good. Your parents and grandparents have depended upon us. Together we have shared the struggles and the wonders of life. At Oktibbeha County Hospital, we are celebrating 30 years of being your lifelong choice in health care.